Welcome back to DSR. We're returning to Grim Hollow. Yeah, that book. Remember, I'm still covering it, still not done. In fact, I looked at my numbers the other day. I'm coming up on 1 year. Next week, it'll be 1 year since the first video. I have, this will be video number 560. And I think 54 of them, 55 of them are from the Grim Hollow book. So 10% of all of my videos are from Grim Hollow. This book has a ton of content. All right, so we're going to do another Sorcerer subclass now that we've got the Sorcerer base class done. We're going to do a Sorcerer subclass from Grim Hollow. This is going to be Apocalypse Sorcery. Hasten or stall the end of the world. Apocalypse sorcerers have been seen the shape of things to come. They may have visions of the great beast ushering in the end of Atheris or dreaming of Gormandrog waking and devouring the land. These prophecies besiege apocalypse sorcerers, plaguing and empowering in equal measure. Some find relief in putting these revelations into writing, producing texts that read as incoherent but slowly sleep into the mind as sensible, even inevitable. Like Thanos, maybe. When the Apocalypse Bringer is freed to travel across Atheris, unburdened, undoing the works of gods and men, magic will swell and pool ripe for the taking. This sign of the end is also their gift. When I first saw the name and saw this art, I thought, this sounds like a cleric. It should be a cleric subclass who's like devoted, their faith is in the end of things, right? Like Cthulhu by Torchlight has an Apocalypse cleric domain that is that, right? But then you read this and it's a little bit different. So I think that art is a little bit misleading. Maybe, I don't know. But the idea here, I think, is more like you're a prophet. Now, in some, mythologies, prophets are tied to gods, and in others, they're not, right? Like you just maybe receive these visions. You don't know why. It's just coming to you. You have no faith or devotion in anything, or maybe you do, and it has nothing to do with this. You are just getting these visions, and you don't know why. So I think this works. I think the theme and idea here works, and it's pretty cool thematically. Let's get into the features. Yeah, so level 3 apocalyptic spells. Okay, you get Augury, Comprehend Languages, Hellish Rebuke, Rave Enfeeblement, Bestow Curse, Revivify, Banishment, Divination, Contagion, Insect Plague. And as you can see, you get a lot of circumstantial spells to begin with. You start getting some okay spells when you are level 5, so third level spells. Your first really good spell is Banishment at level 4 and Divination at level 4. So level 7 in this subclass is a strong level. Contagion, not so great. Insect Plague, not, even a little bit less than Contagion. So this is a strange, eclectic list of spells. It took me a while to figure out, why is Revivify here? I think the idea is they're giving you things that are demonstrated by prophets from the Bible, right? So Hellish Rebuke maybe is rebuking somebody. I don't know if that's biblical. Raining fire down. I mean, Firestorm would have made more. I mean, that's level 7. You still could have given it to them. Augury, you're foretelling things, cursing people like Moses did, summoning an insect plague like Moses did, causing contagions like Moses did, or, bring Revivify like Jesus with Lazarus, I guess is the idea there with Revivify. So this is a strong vibe spell list that isn't really good. Isn't very good. Now, I will say that Hellish Rebuke is better on a full caster than on a Warlock, because Hellish Rebuke upcasts pretty well. So it's a good way to weaponize your bonus action if you have weaponize your reaction if you have a lot of spell slots. Yeah. And Bestow Curse is, just rough. Revivify is strange in that, mechanically strange, okay? Because you're going to have exactly one feature that makes you a healer, or one healer feature, and that doesn't make you a healer. So the best use of that would be something like, well, there is a healer in the party, and you tell them, well, I'm going to have Revivify auto-prepared, so you can not prepare that one. So as long as one person in the party has Revivify, then you're good, I guess. I don't know. This is kind of a rough spell list. It doesn't get good until later levels. Like I said, your best spells you get are at level 7 with Banishment and Divination. Yeah. Rough. It feels vibe-coded and not mechanically thought through. Level 3 feature, though, Unhinged Asservations. Never seen that word before. You are obsessed with documenting your visions. You gain proficiency with calligrapher supplies, and you can create spell scrolls in half the time and at half the cost in gold pieces. That's pretty good. In addition, when you create a spell scroll, you can ensorcel it. When you ensorcel a spell scroll, you must expend a spell slot equal to your or greater than the spell's level, and you can spend sorcery points to apply one of your meta magic options. Any creature that knows at least one language can use your ensorceled spell scroll, which casts a spell with the benefit of a meta magic option you choose. The spell scroll remains ensorceled until it is used or you finish a long rest. So the spell scroll doesn't go away, just the ensorcelment of it goes away after a long rest. That still makes this basically useless because, and let me put this table up on the screen. Yeah, crafting scrolls is fairly time consuming, right? Only cantrips and first level spells can be created in one day. You would create them in half the time, and that means you could create them in 4 hours, okay? But you have to then use them the day of, or you're going to waste the meta magic version of it and the ensorcelment of it. And the ensorcelment is giving you two features. Right? The ensorcelment is adding a meta magic to it and allowing any creature that knows a language to use the scroll. Both of those features go away when you finish a long rest. So you're talking about spending like half the adventuring day creating a scroll, and it's only a cantrip or level 1 spell scroll. And that's only if your DM has uses magic item crafting. If it's level 2, level 3, or sorry, level 2 spells takes 3 days. Level 3 spells takes 5 days. Level 4 spells takes 10 days. Level 5 spells takes 25 days. So to use anything except cantrips and level 1 spell scrolls, you have to like plan ahead. Like, hey guys, we're going to go adventuring in this number of days divided by 2 because you have this feature that cuts the time in half. We're going to go do the dungeon 10, 12 days from now, and then plan it, craft your scroll, one scroll, right? Because you can only craft one thing at a time. You craft your one scroll, it finishes at that day, then you're like, okay, hurry, everybody, let's go to the dungeon. And then for the rest of that day, it's ensorcelled. So this is broken, and not in a good way. It's broken as in it's mostly non-functional. Like, it doesn't work. I suspect something else was intended here, and maybe they thought it ended up being too powerful. Like, it's weird that it specifically says you expend a spell slot equal to or greater than the spell's level. I mean, that's standard for spell scroll crafting. I mean, it doesn't say you expend the spell slot. It just says you have to have the spell prepared every day. Yeah. So I suspect something's going on. Then they nerfed it and didn't go back and revisit, like, how is this supposed to work? If you want this to work well and not be overpowered, because you could also say, like, okay, well, let's forget the crafting time. Let's just say when you expend a spell slot, you automatically create the spell right then, the scroll right then, with no cost, no time, and no gold piece cost, right? If you say that, and then the whole scroll goes away at the end of your long rest, instead of just the ensorcel part, that would still be OP. This would have to be something like, when you finish a long rest, you can create one. Whenever you spend an hour, you can create one. You would probably still have to apply the gold piece cost, cut in half. So yeah, whenever you complete a rest, short or long, and whenever you spend an hour, you can create one. And when you do it that way, then it expends a spell slot, and you can add sorcery points to it, and the ensorcelment goes away at the end of a long rest. But you still have to, I don't know, you still have to say the whole thing disappears at the end of a long rest. The ability to create scrolls like that remain even without the ensorcelment, it would be OP. You would just have this massive stockpile of all the spells. Basically, you have just unlimited spells. So there's not an easy way to balance this so that it is useful but not overpowered. And as is, I'm going to rate this as is, which is, this is basically nothing. It basically doesn't work and does nothing. So your only real level 3 feature are a couple of spells, or 4 spells, and this. Which, the cartographer gets this as well, plus level, other features at level 3. So rough. Level 6, Bear Witness. You have prepared your entire life for the end of the world. While your innate sorcery feature is active, you gain the following benefits. You have resistance to force damage, only while innate sorcery is active. Recite scripture once per active innate sorcery. As a bonus action, you can use a spell scroll that has a spell with a casting time of an action. So it's kind of like getting a free quicken spell once per innate sorcery, but only on a spell scroll if you have one. This is not great. Unflappable, you're immune to the frightened condition. Again, all 3 of these things are only while your innate sorcery is active. And we get another level 6 feature, Arcane Apocrypha. Your obsessive reflections on the end of existence inspire your writing. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can create one spell scroll at no cost. It must be a spell of level 5 or lower than you can cast, and the spell disintegrates when you finish a long rest. Yeah, so I think this should probably just be your level 3 feature. Like, get rid of this thing, or maybe leave it and just add this to it. You can create one spell scroll for free once per day. That's the same as the Scribe's Wizard has, right? Yeah, just move this to level 3, and then this is okay. You know, that might be a B rated feature. B, maybe C. I don't know. Still not very good, even if you move that to level 3. Level 14, Forbidden Magic. The end of Aetheris is a time when magic is unbound and magical powers long hidden are unearthed. When you cast a sorcerer spell using a spell slot, you can choose one option below. Excessive, so these are like modifications to your spells on top of anything you do with meta magic. And it doesn't count to the number of meta magic, towards the limit of meta magic options you can put on each spell, nor does it cost sorcery points or anything like that. Excessive. If the spell requires a material component with a cost, you can cast a spell without the material component. You take force damage equal to 4 times the level of the spell slot immediately after you cast it, and the damage ignores resistance and immunity. So as I was reading this the first time, I was like, okay, cool. Maybe there's something interesting there because this is dealing force damage, and while you have innate sorcery going, you're resistant to force damage. And then I got to this line, and it removes the one kind of synergy you might have had going on here, which is not good, right? Your subtle spell meta magic option already moves the material component cost. The only difference with what this does is it removes material components that even have a cost. But you are taking a bunch of damage to do that. And the only spells that I wouldn't take damage for a spell unless you're just for some reason desperate, like you've been thrown in prison, you have access to none of your stuff. Great. You're level 14. You're really getting thrown in prison and having all your stuff taken away from you at level 14? That's got to be super rare, and I can't think of a single campaign where published campaign where that happens at level 14. So I would not do this with anything that has a material component that's reusable. So all of the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything summon style spells, those all have a fairly spendy material component cost, but it's reusable. So don't do this with those. Just pay the cost one time. You're level 14. You should have plenty of money. Spend the cost one time, and you probably would have done that by now anyway. And just don't worry about this. Avoid taking this damage. So we're talking about spells that consume now the material component, and that's Revivify on your spell list. Wall of Force Cage consumes the spell. Stone Skins, consumes the material component. Stone Skin consumes the material component. Great. Stone Skin's not a great spell in the first place, and do you really want to take? Is it a 4th level spell? I think it's a 4th level spell, right? 3rd level, 4th level, 4th level. So you're going to take 4 times that damage in unresistible damage. So 16 points of damage in order to cast Stone Skin without the 100 gold piece material component. That makes no sense, and you can't resist this in any way. And it doesn't make sense to take damage in order to resist damage, right? You could do this with like Greater Restoration if you had access, or Raise Dead if you had access, but you're a sorcerer at level 14. You will never get access to those spells unless one of the Arcana Unleashed feats gives you access to those spells, which would be crazy. Find Familiar consumes its 10 gold piece cost of material components. Like, do you want to take 4 points of damage to cast Find Familiar and save that 10 gold pieces? I don't know. This is that's super bad. Inexorable. Taking damage can't break your concentration on the spell. When the spell ends, you gain 1 level of exhaustion. This is also super bad because you are a sorcerer, and your extended spell, a meta magic option, gives you advantage on concentration saving throws with that spell when you use it, right? So for 1 sorcery point, you have advantage on your concentration saves. Also, you're a sorcerer unless you dipped something else first, like one level and something else and then sorcerer. But that's usually anti optimization. You want to be sorcerer first because it gives you proficiency in concentration or constitution saving throws. And so just with being a sorcerer and having extended meta magic, you already have proficiency with the constitution saving throws and advantage on the save. It is very unlikely you're going to lose concentration on that from damage. And yes, the save DC from taking damage caps at 30. And that's only if they do 60 damage to you in a single hit. Then you'll have to make a DC 30 concentration saving throw. I mean, it's called a constitution saving throw to maintain concentration, but that's a mouthful. So we just say concentration saving throw. Yeah, I mean, you got maybe a 14 constitution, so you got a +2 modifier from there. You're level 14, so that's going to be a +5 bonus from your proficiency bonus. So you're looking at +7 with advantage. Yeah, you can't get to 30. If you think you're going to take that much damage, then maybe this is the time to use it. Is it worth one level of exhaustion? I would say no, unless you're sure this is the last fight of the day and this is the one spell you got to do and make sure it stays up. So this is super weak. It's very, very niche. Our last option is called Pyric, and that is not referring to anything with flame, not pyro or anything like that. It's Pyric, which is the name of a commander, a Greek commander, who went all in to make sure that they won this battle, but they lost so many forces in that one battle that they won that they lost the war overall. They didn't have enough troops left to continue the war and lost the war. So that's what Pyric means. You're sacrificing the long term to do something big right now, and you'll probably lose long term if you keep doing that. Okay, Pyric. If the spell requires an attack roll, the spell automatically hits, and the attack roll is a critical hit, and then your hit point maximum is reduced by an amount equal to 4 times the level of the spell slot immediately after you cast it. When you finish a long rest, your hit point maximum returns to normal. So you're going to auto hit and auto crit with all the attack rolls, and you're going to take 4 times the damage of this spell slot. So Spellfire Flare, right? That is 1 Spellfire Flare bolt per spell level you use it. So let's say you cast with a 5th level spell, you're going to shoot 5 bolts. They're 2d10 damage each, which is roughly 55 points of damage. Double it if you crit, so 110 points of damage. You're going to take 20 points of damage. That one might be worth it. If you really want to lean into, I would make it, do it with Spellfire Flare. Scorching Ray also works with this, but Scorching Ray, and is this limited? This is not limited to, it does say a spell slot. So you can't use it with cantrips, and you can't use it with free casting spells. It has to be a spell you use with a spell slot. Okay, so yeah, Spellfire, you can do a Scorching Ray. Scorching Ray is not as effective. It does less damage than Spellfire Flare and upcasts slower or less than Spellfire Flare does. And so you're going to take a higher percentage of damage versus the damage you deal. But 110 points of damage for taking 20 points of damage, that's probably worth it a few times a day. So this is the only part of the feature that's actually decent, making you a better single target ranged damage dealer, I guess. Yeah. Honestly, I would have said you have these additional things, metamagic options. You have new metamagic options. They all cost 1 sorcery point. And then remove the additional super penalizing effects, right? Taking all this damage, remove that exhaustion level. This one, you'd probably have to say cost 1 sorcery point and leave it as is, or maybe reduce the amount of damage you take, because this one's actually quite strong. It would be very strong if it's only 1 sorcery point to do all that. But as is, these first 2, terrible. This third one, okay, you'd use that sometimes. You can't do it all the time unless you have a super healer in the party who's just going to heal through all the damage you're taking. Okay, the end is nigh. You loudly proclaim what will come to pass when the world ends. As a magic action, you describe the end of days. When you do so, each creature of your choice within a 30-foot emanation originating from you must make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. So it has no friendly fire, pretty big area. On a failed save, the creature takes 66 psychic damage and 66 force damage. That's a total of 12d6 or 42 points of damage, which sounds like a lot. But remember, in your head, you're probably comparing it to Fireball, which you get at level 5. This is level 8 now, and monster hit points have continued to scale. So 42 points of damage versus the number of hit points the monsters have now, not great. Also, it's a wisdom saving throw, which in tier 4 is tied with Constitution as the worst saving throw to target. Yes, it is tied with Constitution as the worst. It would be better to target Dexterity. Dexterity is a better saving throw to target than Wisdom in tier 4. And then additionally, okay, and the creature has the Frightened condition for 1 minute. Again, sounds nice in tier 4, which you absolutely are because you're level 18 at least. 35% of monsters are immune to the Frightened condition. So you're going to do a decent chunk of damage. You might have a cool rider effect. 35% of monsters are going to be straight up immune to that. They're going to have their best chance of saving against your spell too. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage only. Makes sense. A frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the frightened condition on a successful save. If this damage reduces a creature to 0 hit points, the creature can be revived only by a true resurrection or a wish. That's probably never going to matter. Super, super rare. Very few monster stat blocks have a res spell. Very few. I've only used it on one monster stat block. The Anchorite of Talos, I think is what that monster stat block is. And I've used that because they get a cast Revivify without a material component. And so I just had them start rezzing each other. And that makes it a pretty interesting tactical battle. But nothing, I can't think of any other creatures that can res off the top of my head. So this will probably never matter unless this is used by a monster against the player characters. Like you make this your BBEG is this sorcery subclass. But there's a lot of things where player characters are not designed to be used against player characters. And so a lot of things are heavily unbalanced if you start doing that, I guess is the best way to say it. And once you use a feature, you can't do so again to finish a long rest unless you expend 6 sorcery points. No action required to restore your use of it. All right, let's go to Caius's data sheet, monster data sheet, and break this down. Okay, here we have Caius's monster data sheet. I'm highlighting the rows that are level 17 to 20 because that's tier 3. I guess we can just say highlight the rows 18 to 20 because we're talking about your level 18 feature, so you're at least level 18. So right first up, creatures are going to have on average 265 hit points. Yes, there's some variance, right? The standard deviation is 84-ish points of hit points. So they might go as low as 180 or go as high as 349 within one standard deviation. 2 standard deviations, of course, is a bigger swing, but that's not very common, right? That's what 2 standard deviations means. So 265 points of damage, we'll call it the average, and you're going to do 42 points of damage with this feature, which is like 35% of the monster's hit points. So the damage alone, I mean, if you cast it 3 times, you might start killing creatures if that's the only damage being done to them, but this has certainly softened them up, and it has no friendly fire in a huge area. So the damage is pretty good. Let's look at the saving throws just to add some context to that. Can I get it all on the screen? No, I'm not going to be able to fit all of it at the same time, but you can kind of just see like strength is going from, this is the average modifier of the monsters at this level. So the average monster is going to have a +6 strength saving throw, a +6 dexterity saving throw, a +8 constitution saving throw, a +4 intelligence saving throw, and a +8 wisdom saving throw, and a +5 charisma saving throw. So intelligence and charisma, absolutely the best ones to target. Intelligence is the best and remains and stays at 4 is the average. Stays at 4 all the way to the end. Charisma raises up to 6. So you can see that, yeah, wisdom is as equally bad, ties for the worst, as constitution as being the worst saving throw to target in tier 4. Okay, that's rough. Let's look at the conditions. There we go. This is the one I was looking for. All right, here is the frightened condition in tier 4. 36% of monsters are immune. Yeah. All right, so let's go back to that spell. So the damage is decent. The fact that it's a huge area, no friendly fire, each creature of your choice, are the good points. Frightened condition sounds nice, but often won't matter. And the creatures that you really, really want to use your big gun, big effects against are the toughest ones and are usually the ones that are going to be the immune ones, right there. That's going to be the battle where you want to use your big guns. So I don't know that I would wait and use this on my big gun battles. I would use this for the battles leading up to your fight with the BBEG as a way to burn through them quickly, minimizing the resource expenditure for you and the rest of the party so that you guys are more fresh when you arrive at the big boss battle. If he's got a bunch of minions, hit him with this again. If he doesn't have a bunch of minions and only a couple of like really strong lieutenants with him, probably don't do this. Except that, here's another upside. It's a magic action and not a spell, which means you're a sorcerer, right? You can take Quicken spell, you do this as your action, and Quicken a Synaptic Static, which targets intelligence, best saving throw to target, or a Fireball, or a Vitriolic Sphere, right? As your bonus action. And now you're dumping a lot of damage in an area in one turn, totally valid. Is it worth restoring this for 6 sorcery points? Yeah, if you want to burn through like large amounts of creatures, for sure. Yeah. Especially if it's a fight with like a whole, like there's like a 20 or more minion type fights or minion type monsters in the fight. And you just like, it's going to take a lot of resources of your party to fight through that. You can just basically take these out, drop a synaptic static on them. Hopefully you go before all of them in the fight. Maybe your allies can help you go first. There's ways that they can do that, alert feat to swap with you, things like that. You go first, I would probably drop the synaptic static. I don't know if that's going to matter because it doesn't reduce their saving throws against it. It's only saving throws to maintain concentration. But drop this and a big blast spell, probably vitriolic sphere. That'll be less resisted than psychic damage by far. Does more damage than synaptic static. And I don't know if you care about the buff. It really depends on, are they going to live to the next round? Okay, and so you would use so the way to go is use this first, see how much it drops their health, right? If they all become bloodied from doing this, then hit them with the vitriolic sphere, maybe kill them. If you do this first and it doesn't drop them all to bloody, which you should know, DMs, you should be telling your players absolutely what conditions the monsters have. If not, just let them know, see the health bar of the monsters. That's what I do. Like, yes, the more information, you are their eyes and ears, the more information you can give them, the more fun it is for them to play, the better the game goes. Like this, just give them, like Jeremy Crawford recommends, giving them more information than you think you should, right? Just give them lots of information, because that's all kind of information they would have if they were actually present in the moment, right? If they were there themselves. Anyway, all right. So if this drops a bunch of them to bloodied, great. Hit them with the vitriolic sphere. If this doesn't drop them to bloodied, then probably hit them with a synaptic static. Do you have access to synaptic static as a sorcerer? I think you do. Because that'll cause a minus 1d6 on their attack rolls, which would be, and their like ability checks, right? Which will hinder their ability to attack all your allies. So you've done a ton of damage to them. Between those two things, there's a good chance you're going to bloody them. And then they've got a penalty on their attack roll. So then you go through the rest of the initiative. The rest of your party, who are, hopefully you've got a bunch of marshals, they just run in there, clean it all, just mop it up. Because marshals do so like a really high single target DPR. They'll just go through and mop everything up. Meanwhile, taking less damage because the monsters are having a harder time hitting them with that minus 1d6. Good combo for this one. Yeah. Especially with Sorcerer, because of you've got quicken spell meta magic. All right, so let's rank this one overall. It's going to be a C. Yeah, unfortunately. And that's if you stay in it. If you multi-class only to level, or go to level 3 and then multi-class out, this is a D. Like, it's just that level 3 feature is broken and mostly non-functional. There's not an easy way to fix it. So I don't know. We'll see. I did shoot a message over to Ben Byrne to see if he had thoughts on how that was supposed to work, or if I'm misunderstanding something here. Maybe I missed something. Let me know. Somebody always does in the comments, so I appreciate that. Thank you. It's going to be a D for frontliner, C for range, C for blaster, C for controller, D for healer, D for support, D for face, C for self-buff, B for survival, and B for knowledge. And you might be saying, like, well, you just said that level 18 feature is a great blast feature. Why are you ranking this so low? It's because it's level 18, right? Again, seems like most campaigns don't make it to level 18, so you may never get that feature. And until you get that feature, there's nothing making you a good blaster here. So yeah. But if you were to like just drop into a one-shot at level 18 or higher with this, I would say you're maybe an A-level blaster. Probably an A-level blaster. Yeah, if you just drop into an 18 or higher level one-shot. Okay, here it is in context with everything else. And yeah, this is, if you were to like average these two things together, these two ratings for overall and level 3 dip, this is the lowest rating of anything in Grim Hollow so far. We got a number of double C's. This is the first one that's a CD. Yeah. So not great. And yeah, you can see with Grim Hollow that the content is a bit all over the place. Some things are overpowered. A lot of things are underpowered. But if you were to say, just look at the A-rated subclasses, you're still getting more A-rated subclasses from this book per dollar you spend than most other books. So this book, I think, is a solid buy because there's so much content. There's just, you got to use this data sheet to like see which ones you should avoid and which ones are going to be problematic, which is what these bright red ratings are. That means it's banned for one reason or another. Yeah. And if you didn't know, there is a link here to the right to help you find it. I think this is going to be my 560th video. And so there's a lot to try to find. I do try to keep the playlist curated and well organized. I miss things once in a while. Thanks everybody who lets me know so I can correct those. But still, it can be really hard to find what you're looking for on YouTube. So just scroll to the right. You can find the link to the piece of content specifically. And I do have this for like everything in the datasheet. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I hope it helps. If you don't have enough D&D in your life, check the video description. You can find links to join my Discord, a link to the DSR rules for the homebrew kind of stuff. There's also a link to Kaius's monster data where he's pulled all of that and done some analysis on it, which is very helpful. I refer to it pretty often. There's also a link to the Google Drive that has this DSR data Google Sheet in it where I rate all this, everything in the game. There's a few other Google Sheets in that Google Drive as well. So if you don't find the particular tab of data that you're looking for, it might be in one of the other Google Sheets. I've started separating out any tab that's like class specific into a DSR data class, and then anything that's campaign, like partner campaign specific, I separated out into there's a folder for that content named after the partner campaign setting as well. So it might be in one of those places. But yeah, the Google Drive has all that stuff out there. There is no paywall to access any of this. It's just publicly accessible. I hope you use it. That's why I made it. I hope it helps. That's the whole point of all of this, is to make D&D more accessible to more people, make it a little bit easier to get into having fun of playing D&D faster, so you don't have to have like a master's degree in D&D in order to create a character. Yeah, because D&D is really great, and I think more people should play. And so I'm just trying to lower the barrier to entry, make it easier for people to get into it and play it. I do also have a link to my Patreon, and if you want to support in that way, that's wonderful. Big shout out to all my Patrons. Thank you all so much, especially the Frontliner tier and the Artificer tier Patrons. You guys are wonderful, and I really appreciate everything you guys do. So thank you so much. If it doesn't make sense for you to support in that way, that's totally fine. Don't worry about it. You can like, subscribe, comment, and watch videos. Just watching video is a great way to support as well. So thank you for any way you choose to support. And finally, remember that D&D is a game. The point of it is to have fun with your friends. So please be cool when you play D&D, all right? Okay, catch you next time.